So like I said, my name is Rosie. I do all of our recruiting for our internship positions as well as our associate level positions for predominantly audit and tax. So if you have any questions or interest in any of those roles, I am definitely your go-to person. I am the one who can guide you in the right direction if you're kind of unsure of where you should be. I am definitely your first point of contact for any of that sort of stuff. So I attended Adelphi University, not sure if any of you are familiar, which is a small school in Long Island. I did not come from an accounting background. I get that question all the time, like why do you like accounting, or why did you choose accounting? And I definitely did not go that route for my own background. I have a background in psychology and human resources, which is where the recruiting aspect comes from. And then I did some recruiting for quite a number of different industries before I got to BKD. And now I focus primarily in accounting, which is really wonderful. I have learned a whole lot about accounting, so I do my best to be able to answer any of your questions about the field before you kind of get through the process. And I have a bunch of information about BKD specifically that I'll be sharing with you today. It's a really exciting time for BKD right now. There's a lot happening in regards to growth and just with a lot of growing that's going on throughout the firm in New York, but also firm-wide, so across our footprint. So that's kind of where I wanted to start with today's presentation. And then after that, we'll get into the different opportunities that we have. And then I really want to open up the floor for questions and anything that I can answer for you all on the call today. So like I said, really kind of focusing in on who is BKD, where are we at right now as a firm. There is lots and lots of things going on. We actually just got a calendar invitation from our CEO for a town hall later this week. And I feel like there's going to be some really exciting news being shared with us, because they usually only have that when there's something really exciting happening. So that is going to be, that's just a testament to kind of where we're at right now. So we were founded in 1923. So it's 2022 now, and in a year we will be at our 100-year anniversary. And within that 100 years, we are hoping, we have a really, really amazing goal of trying to be $1 billion firm by our 100-year anniversary. So right now we are at $767 million in revenue. And like I said, by that 100-year mark, we are hoping to hit $1 billion firm. The New York office absolutely is a main player in that revenue stream and in cultivating that growth. As you all obviously are familiar with New York and the footprint that the financial district has here, there's just a ton of opportunity for new clients. So we're really just trying to kind of establish our footprint, establish our brand, and reach a lot of brand new clients in different industries, and also in the industries that we are already pretty well known in right now for New York. So again, just really trying to hit that $1 billion mark, and that's a huge milestone for us. We typically fluctuate, if you were to look up BKD on a list of firms, we typically fluctuate between like number 12 and 13 on the largest firms. And like I said, it can be on a Monday, we're number 15, on a Thursday, we're number 12. It really fluctuates, but we're happy with that. We're happy with that place. And I think that kind of as the years go on, we will just establish a bit more of a presence and hopefully solidify a spot on that list, as we continue to grow. With all this growth talk in mind, we are really excited that we just opened a brand new office in Phoenix, Arizona. So we now have 41 offices throughout 19 different states. On the next slide, I have a map here that will give you all a really great image of kind of where we're at throughout the country. And we're primarily focused in the Midwest. So our headquarters are located in Springfield, Missouri. We have a huge presence out there. We are definitely one of the more well-known firms out in the Midwest, and we're really hoping to continue that out to the coasts. So we're obviously now on the East Coast, with New York being our most East region office. And then Arizona is our newest office all the way out in the West Coast. So we're just really trying to hopefully cover all of our bases as the years go on and get ourselves into some more states. So we have a 1-to-9 partner to staff ratio. And basically all that means is that for every one partner, there's about 9 employees that you can imagine being staffed with them. So the way that I always think about this, and the way that I like to kind of propose it to students is think back to when you were choosing a university. Were you really interested in the universities that were really big? You were kind of going to be just a number in a lecture hall. Your professor might not know your name. Career services might not know who you are specifically. And there's just a lot going on. There's a huge presence. Or were you looking for a school where I know, Queens is definitely going to be this, with smaller classrooms, one-to-one relationship with your partners and your professors and your peers, career services. That's what you can more closely relate BKD to, those smaller universities where you definitely have a little bit more, I won't call it hand-holding, but you have a little bit more support, guidance, and one-to-one relationships with those higher ups than you might have had at a larger school or university. So we just kind of make sure that as we continue to experience this growth, that we have as many partners on board and being hired as possible so that we can make sure that we're staying leveled and staying balanced. We never want it to kind of have the balance be thrown off where there's so many staff and not too many partners. And then lastly here, we are a member of the Praxity Global Alliance of Independent Firms. And basically all that means is that we work with and we collaborate with other firms outside of BKD who can provide us with additional resources, additional technologies, office locations. If we have a client that we don't have within our direct reach or practice units, we can utilize their offices and their spaces. We collaborate with them on different service lines so that our clients won't have to kind of outsource and do additional research. We're able to work directly with this alliance, and it's really amazing. It kind of makes us feel larger than we might actually be, and just having all of those resources while still maintaining that small firm feel. So really, really exciting stuff here on this slide. This has been my favorite slide to present to students this semester, just because there is so much happening. And if you have questions, we can hold them to the end when I leave it open, but definitely jot them down so that you don't forget to ask, and hopefully I answer them throughout the presentation. So like I mentioned, here is a photo of the map that we have right now. So you'll see 3 different colors on the map, well, 4 different colors on the map, but the 3 main colors, our north region is that lighter blue color. Our south region is that darker blue color. And then our east region is that purple color. And those dots that are throughout the map is where our offices are located specifically. So like I said, Midwest and in Texas for sure, we have a ton of offices out there, really, really great presence. And we're just hoping to kind of expand those offices even further and make this map as colorful as we can, less gray, more different colors as we start to expand some more. So this is where we're at. And this is a really great time as well to mention that if you are not from New York or you aren't interested in a experience in New York, and you see that BKD has an office in a state that you are more interested in, I am absolutely the person who you can reach out to, and I can connect you to the specific campus recruiter for the location that you're interested in. So I can put you to where you need to be, and we have a ton of opportunities throughout all of our regions. So where if you are not directly in New York or you are not interested in staying in New York, we have opportunities all throughout the country. So if you have questions about that as well, please reach out to me and I can get you connected with who you need to be connected with. So shifting gears here a bit as well to our clients. So I get asked a whole lot, who does BKD work with? What do your clients look like? And what does, if you're a part of the New York office, what does the breakdown look like on a little bit more of a specific level for the New York office? So as you can see, I broke it down by firm-wide first. So our firm-wide industries and service lines. And then on the next slide, I'll go into the New York office specific service lines and industries. So starting out with service lines, as you can see, we are predominantly audit and tax, followed by consulting is our newest area. We have a new NAS role, we call it National Advisory Services, campus recruiter who helps students who, if you're not an accounting student, if you're more of a finance student, economics student, an MIS student, IT student, we have a ton of consulting roles. So if you are interested, let me know. Again, I can put you in the right place. And those are all throughout the country. So it's not just in New York, it's definitely throughout firm-wide. And then we also have a brand new service of accounting outsourcing, which is definitely new because it's really small. But that's an area that we're really growing and kind of doing some additional work for outsourcing. So predominantly audit and tax, though we are a CPA firm. So lots of our folks are CPAs for audit and tax. And then by industry, this is a really colorful piece of the pie here. We have basically something for everybody is the way that I like to explain it. If you're interested in any of these, then we have clients in, all across the board. I'll probably say healthcare and commercial services are the two largest areas that we have throughout the firm. And then you'll see kind of what New York really specifies in, but definitely have an amazing footprint across the firm for the sorts of clients that we work with. And we're really happy about that. We just kind of hope to see this differentiation and variation remain. We probably aren't going to be shifting gears and focusing in one area or another. We really just kind of want to continue on that path of having something for everybody. So this is our firm-wide breakdown. And then for our clients for New York, much different. As you can see, we are predominantly audit focused in New York. We have a huge audit team here. And then tax is much smaller, but I foresee probably in the next 2 years or so, our tax group is going to be shifting, and that piece of the pie is probably going to be closer to what consulting looks like. So we have a large consulting group as well in the New York office. I don't want to confuse you and make you all think that we have a lot of consulting opportunities. A lot of individuals in the New York office go from audit into consulting. That's basically the track. But we definitely have 1 or 2 opportunities in consulting in our forensics consulting and valuation services area. So can get into that when we talk through the opportunities that we have available. But yeah, predominantly audit. There's really nothing much else to say there. So if you're interested in audit, then definitely BKD in New York is probably a good place for you to look into. And then with that, industry-wise, we are predominantly healthcare and not-for-profit. And within not-for-profits is your typical organizations, charitable organizations, volunteer organizations, as well as colleges and K through 12 schools. So there's a bit of differences there in clients for not-for-profits, but huge area for us. The organization that we actually merged with for New York, these were their 2 largest clients that they served. So we, of course, absorbed a lot of that. But over the last 2 years that BKD in New York has been here, we've opened up different service lines or different industries in commercial services, financial services, and construction and real estate. And I foresee commercial services and financial services probably growing, I would say probably doubling in size in the next 2 years. So we've hired some really amazing new partners that we have a lot of faith in to build our clientele there. But yeah, this is sort of the breakdown of New York and what you can imagine experiencing. A really amazing part about BKD specifically is that you as an intern and an associate have the opportunity to work in all the different industries that we have. You're not hired as a healthcare audit intern or a commercial services tax intern. You're just hired as an audit or a tax intern, and you're put on different jobs, and you are going to be working with different clients so that you can really get to understand what you have a knack for, what you have an interest in, what you're good at, what the busy seasons look like, what the slower seasons look like. So that once you kind of hit that senior level and that senior 2 level, you can kind of pick we call it a major here, and that's where your focus will be. So then you'll work more on the healthcare side as a senior associate or a senior associate 2, and you'll start to in charge jobs in a specific area or industry, and you just kind of become a subject matter expert in that specific industry. But as associates and interns, you are exposed to all the work that an associate would do, just in those various different industries. And that's something that we really put a lot of importance in. So I'm going to pause here because we're going to switch gears a bit on the next slide. And I want to open the floor now for questions about anything that I've covered thus far in the presentation. So feel free to raise your hand or come off mute, put it in the chat, and I can answer any questions. I see a hand raised. Andrew, What can I
Yeah,
help?
I don't come from an accounting background. I'm more of an I'm an economics major, but what opportunities do you guys offer, obviously, besides accounting, for like finance or economic majors?
Yeah,
Um,
so that would be more so our consulting groups. So we call it our national advisory services. And there are probably, I think we have 8 or 9 different areas of consulting that we offer and we have internships in. So if you would like to, I can connect you with that specific recruiter and then you can kind of go through the options of what we have available. I'll put my email in the chat at the end of this so that you can reach out to me. I'll grab your resume and then I can kind of put you in contact with her and she can help you out with that.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Is it Shayna?
Shiana, yes. So do you have an office in Manhasset or Port Washington?
So we only have an office in Manhattan. So we are in Midtown on 6th Avenue and 44th. So we're right outside of Bryant Park. We are about 3 blocks away from Times Square, 15-minute walk from Penn, 10-minute walk from Grand Central. So our only office in New York at the moment is located in the city. We're not in Long Island yet.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Any other questions?
Guys, don't be hesitant. This is your chance to ask questions. This is an informal. Nobody's going to hold anything against you.
It's okay if you don't. We're going to get into kind of all the internship and associate stuff right like after this. So maybe you'll have more questions about that. But I really can't stress enough. If you are interested in any of these industries or if you're interested in other locations, the best plan of attack is just email me with your resume, email me with what you're interested in, what your graduation date is. And I can point you in the right direction. That's going to be the best bet. So I see 2 questions here in the chat. Senior accounting major, definitely send me your resume. I'm going to put my email in the chat at the end of this. And are the internships paid? Yes, absolutely. Our internships are paid. So that's a good segue into the next portion here. So we have 2 areas of internships that you can, or 2 positions of internships that you can get. You can either have a spring internship or a summer internship. So right now we are in our spring internship season. It is a longer internship. So you start in January and you end in April, and you work throughout the busy season. So if you're familiar with accounting, then you know that lots of deadlines are in April and, preparation for that all starts in January. So hours for busy season look closer to like 55 hours a week. But your internships can be full-time or part-time. We prefer full-time, but if you're enrolled in courses in the evenings, or if you have courses, 2 days out of the week and you can work Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for a full day, that's totally fine. We have 2 part-time interns at the moment right now. So that is an option, but we definitely prefer full-time. But there is less programmy stuff going on is the way that I kind of explain it. You are super hyper-focused on the work. You're on engagements. You are working alongside, typical associates in charges. You're really understanding kind of what accounting looks like, both for audit and tax. And even if you're kind of focused in one industry, you're helping across the board with all their different clients. So that's where the kind of more independent work comes in. You're not working alone, but you're more on your own engagements and you're kind of doing your own work, just as, a typical associate would during the busy season. We have a smaller group of interns, so usually like 5 to 7. And then there is a larger split between tax and audit. So right now we have 3 audit interns and 4 tax interns who are on board. So just so happens that we have a little more tax ones. And you do a bit more work with, you don't only do work in the New York office. So we have some interns helping out the Chicago office. We have some interns helping out our Salt Lake City office. So you're not kind of pigeonholed into one specific office usually. And that's just because our New York office has a lot of hands and they're able to kind of work with different offices in that aspect for the busy season. And then the summer internship is a bit different. So it's a shorter duration. It's 10 weeks from June through August, but you have to be available full time. So it's a full-time internship, 40 hours a week, Monday through Friday. You'll work maybe a couple more hours here and there, maybe 40 to like 42 hours a week, depending on how busy you are. But for the most part, you're working a 40-hour a week, 9 to 5. There are a lot more programs here throughout the week, things like different events and trivia and team building events. You have a marketing project you present in front of the partners. There's a whole lot going on in the summer. And it's just because you guys are there all at the same time for the most part, and schedules are all the same. And there aren't as many deadlines in the summer, depending on the industry that you work in. So it's a little bit of a slower period, but the summer internship is so much fun. We have a lot of fun in the office during the summer. There's a larger group, so there's usually like 10 to 11 or 15 interns at a given time. I believe this summer we have, I want to say maybe 12 interns coming in, so really large group, predominantly audit as well. So not as many tax interns in the summertime, but definitely more audit. And there's more buddy shadowing here, where this basically means that you are following your buddy on all of their engagements and on the work that they do, a little more than you do in the spring because you're on your own engagements. So you work directly alongside your buddy for basically the duration of the internship, and you get to get trained by them for the full 10 weeks. This is just because we want to make sure that you are staying busy, you are staying trained, and you are consistently learning throughout those 10 weeks, where we know for a fact that in the spring you are going to be learning and you're going to be getting hands-on experience there. So no matter what, if you're in a spring or a summer internship, you're going to be getting a ton of hands-on experience and responsibility. Our interns are treated as associates. We don't expect you to know everything that an associate might know. You're trained on every single thing that you would know as an intern, but you get the same work that an associate would get. So another really amazing thing about mid-sized firms is that you have the opportunity to work on and experience and touch a lot more than you might be able to do at either a larger or a smaller firm. There, you might be working in one specific industry. You might be a little bit more pigeonholed in the work that you're doing. But here, as an associate or as an intern, you're getting exposure to a whole lot of things. And within 2 years, you can get the next step to senior associate. So things happen, and career progression here is really quick, which I know is a lot of, sparks a lot of interest for students. So, no matter what, you're getting consistent feedback and evaluations. We send out evaluations about every other week to get from in-charges and buddies. And you're meeting with me constantly to know where you're at performance-wise. And our goal for our internships is that we, make a full-time hire at the end of it. As long as your performance was up to par, you have clear interest, you're a fit with the firm, there's no major hiccups, you're typically in a good spot for a full-time opportunity, right after graduation or whatever timeline works for you. That's another great thing about, our firm specifically, is that I work with you in your own timelines. So you're not kind of buckled down into the only, position that we have available, where we're flexible in what we're able to do time-wise. So lastly, leadership exposure, collaborative events, and professional development is really huge for our internships. We have something called Upskill Your Internship, which is a leadership speaker series that happens almost every Friday at 2:30 p.m. Every single intern throughout BKD hops on a call and gets, some form of professional development training from our individuals. So really cool to kind of be able to work alongside other interns in the firm and be able to meet other interns in the firm who aren't directly in your location. Also take a step back from work and make sure that you're kind of getting that experience that you need for professional development and teachable moments. So that's really important for all of our interns as well. So I see we have some chats in here. I just want to make sure I'm not looking over any questions.
I think I can read some of them. I think one of the students asked, are you open to international students?
So great question. So we unfortunately right now are not sponsoring international students. It's just something that we're trying to work through a bit. So at the moment we're not, but hopefully in the future we are able to.
Next question, are the internships paid?
Of course, yes. So $30 an hour is what our interns in New York are paid. Pay fluctuates from location to location based on markets. And we absolutely are always kind of going through market compensations and making sure that we're providing the best possible compensation. But yes, interns are paid hourly.
Amazing. Next questions, and you might be going over it later on. What are the requirements for the internships? And we can,
Yeah, so that's a great,
the next page, then we can wait.
yeah, no, this is a great question. I can answer that now. So, excuse me, for our internships, the only requirement that we have is that you have taken accounting 1 or intro to accounting 101 before your internship. So that's the only like technical requirement that I say. I got the question a lot. I actually had a full conversation with another student yesterday. She was worried that she didn't have any like previous experience for an internship. She was a little later to the game. She was a junior looking for an internship. And, you know, the way that I look at it is the internship is the experience that you're going to end up putting on your resume for jobs in the future. So for us to say that we would require our interns to have a year or 2 years of previous experience in accounting or anything like that, it's just not, it doesn't make sense. So we don't require specific accounting background, but things like leadership experience, case competitions, volunteer opportunities, clubs and organizations, all of those things are really, really great ways to bulk up your resume and show that you're able to juggle multiple things at a time, be a multitasker. You're a leader in a organization, you have good scheduling and timing. You're good at, you have good interpersonal skills, all those soft skills that we might not be able to learn about otherwise. I always say, make sure that you're just kind of staying well-rounded in what you're doing. And the only technical requirement really is that accounting 101 or intro to accounting course for audit or tax. For consulting, it's different. Obviously those roles, the requirements are a little bit different, but that's basically just your major. But you have to be an accounting student on a CPA track, and that's really the only requirement. Excel doesn't help. I get that question a lot, if there's any like other technical skill. But again, you learn so much Excel on the job that asking for it as a requirement just doesn't jive with the recruiter. So those are really the requirements.
Just to be familiar or something, no? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
To be familiar.
Yeah. Totally.
Amazing. Thank you for the information. And just for me, when I see students and I suggest them what to have and not to have on their resume, one of the employers mentioned if they don't have as much relevant experience or don't have much yet to put on the resume, to list either relevant classes they have taken so far, or listing like class projects that they can talk about, either related to accounting or something that they did. Now, listing, you have mentioned taking accounting, the 101 and 102 principles of accounting. Would you suggest to list it? Because I was told not to, because it's a, so to say, common, or like it's a requirement to list a little more advanced classes if they have taken so far. If not, then listing the 101 and 102 will be sufficient enough.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's personal preference. So for our applications, we ask for a transcript as part of the application process. So when I'm going through your resume or your application, I always pull up your transcript and then I look through it to make sure that you have that course. Typically, I can know if you're graduating, like if you're graduating in 2025, you might not have taken it yet. You might just be a freshman. So usually I can tell based on the graduation date, but students sometimes the grad date doesn't match the year that you're in. Everyone's kind of all over the place sometimes. But if you've taken it, I mean, I don't see a harm in putting it, but for me personally, I always look at the transcript regardless. So that's fine. But I agree totally with you, Eleanor, and like class projects, things that you can speak to where you've learned and you've taken something away from the experience that you'll be able to really kind of utilize in your internship experience, or that might set you apart from your internship experience. I think that's just as good.
Perfect. Next question. When is the internship deadline for the summer?
Okay, so I'll get to deadlines at
Okay.
the next slide. I saw another hand raised, I think. I didn't get the name though. Maybe Vanessa?
Yes, this is a follow-up question from Eleanor. So I am a senior. Actually, I'm doing my master's currently. So I already took that course, and my major is accounting. So you just answered the question. So that's
okay. Okay, good. Glad. Are there any other questions in the chat,
No,
Eleanor?
same questions, how to apply, but I know you're going to be going over it, how to apply and your email.
Yeah.
I can provide emails as well, your email, but that will probably come later on. So give it a little more more time.
Yeah. So right before I get into all the positions that we have available, a point that I want to make here is at BKD specifically, career progression is really important to us, and making sure that we provide our employees with all of the different avenues and roads that you can go down. Just because you start in audit doesn't mean that you need to stay in audit forever. Just because you start in tax doesn't mean that you can't end up on the consulting team a year or 3 or 4 years later. You are always in the driver's seat of what happens next in your career. We just want to get you there, and we provide coaches and your buddies and CPA advisors and me as a campus recruiter. We provide you a lot of different people to have those conversations with, because if you do join BKD, you'll quickly learn that there are more people who have gone the untraditional path than they have gone the traditional path. And I say that because we have individuals who have started out as a tax intern and accepted full-time associate positions for an audit role. We have people who have started out in our Springfield, Missouri office and then ended up in our Colorado office in a totally different department. So never be afraid or worried that you're going to kind of be pigeonholed, especially in your internships as well. We do have the opportunity. It's usually more so in the summer internships. I should have put this in there, but in the summer internships, you can split your internship in half, or you can start out in audit or tax, and then you could switch into a different service line. The reason for that is because, again, there's a lot of fluidity, but also how can you expect to accept a full-time offer if you're not even positive that that's where you want to be for the next year or so? So we really kind of offer the opportunity. We just had an intern last summer who started out in audit. She did 8 out of the 10 weeks in audit, and then she came to me and said, I'm just really itching to go to tax. I think that I might like it a little bit better. Can I work in tax for the next 2 weeks? And we put her in there, and then she ended up accepting an offer in tax for full-time. And she's coming back as a part-time intern in the next week for a tax internship again. So this is just a testament for me to let you all know that when you're at BKD, there are many avenues, and you're going to be the person who can choose which one to go down as you kind of go throughout your career with us. Where you could tell, firm-wide, we have more than just tax and audit. We have a lot of consulting opportunities in a lot of different industries. So if you're not an accounting student as well, that, please reach out to me, because I'd love to put you into the spot where you would best be a fit for. So this is kind of just what I wanted to make a good segue into the positions that we do have available. So this is for the New York office specifically. So right now we are recruiting for July 2022 audit associate positions. In order to apply to this role, you must have completed your 150 credits before starting in July. So you have to be graduated, and you have to have completed those 150 credits, to sit in for the CPA exam. So July 2022 audit associate positions, as well as our summer leadership programs. So we have 2 summer leadership programs that we offer. So any freshmen on the call or early sophomores, we have a program called Explore BKD, which is a regional program. So all of our East Region offices, which is our Chicago office, New York, Indianapolis, Pittsburgh, and Cincinnati. We have a 2-day program where we kind of go over public accounting in general as a option for a career path. We go through creating schedules. We go through what is tax, what is audit, what is consulting, how to go through interviews, what positions are available. We kind of cover all the bases for you, and hopefully answer any questions. You get to, of course, meet with different individuals throughout our offices and throughout BKD. And then from there, you are eligible to then join our Experience BKD program, which is our second summer leadership program. That's more geared towards sophomores and juniors who know that they want to go through public accounting, but they might not know whether or not they want to stick with BKD. On the other end of that, we invite any student or any candidate who has accepted an offer with BKD and isn't starting for the next year or 2 years, those individuals can join as well. If you are a part of Experience BKD, which is just the New York office, you are automatically considered for an interview. So again, if there is a junior on the call who knows that they'll be graduating in 2025 for after a master's program, or 2024 in your master's program, Experience BKD is a great place for you. If you are kind of still on the fence about BKD, you're not sure if you want to submit an application, but you want to still kind of get ahead of the game in the interview process. So on the next slide, I have the sign up links for everything. So just hold tight if you are interested in that. But then of course, as well, we have our internship programs. We have every single internship option available. So we have 2023 spring and summer audit interns, and we have 2023 spring and summer tax interns. With this, for anyone who's on the call who is not a accounting major, we also have positions in our forensic services and our forensics and valuation services consulting internship program. So if forensics is an interest for you or risk services is an interest for you, please reach out to me and I can get you connected with the recruiter to get some more information about that. I can send you a pamphlet about it if you just want more information. We have availability for that role as well. So we are interviewing all throughout this month and next. We hope to get all of our offers out by the first week of April. So interviews will definitely be winding down towards the end of March. So I would say don't apply any later than the end of March to a role, or I would even say at the end of February for a role. I know that that's coming up quick, but the sooner that you can apply, the better. And the one piece of advice that I have about applications is apply to one position only. I'm the one who goes through all the applications. Of course, I'm the recruiter. You don't have a bigger chance in getting your application notice if you apply to every single job on the website. All that does is clog up, quite frankly, the application website. So I encourage you to apply to the job that you are most interested in and the most eligible for. I look at candidate first, position second. So I look at your information. If I think you have a great resume and it just so happens that you applied to a July associate position, but you're actually better qualified for an internship, I'm going to reach out to you anyway. And I'm going to say, hey, I noticed that you applied for this role. I actually think that you probably be a better fit. Are you interested? And then go from there. If I've never met you before, maybe we haven't had a conversation. Usually I will send a virtual interview first to complete online. So it's a video interview. You answer 4 or 5 questions. I review it. And then after that, you could be selected for an interview. We have one interview aside from the virtual interview. And after that, you can get a offer. So it's really not that too intensive of a process. It's just a matter of getting your application sourced. And then, for me to figure out whether or not I think that you'd be a good fit based on that resume, cover letter, transcript, all that good stuff. So I'll pause here because again, this is a lot of information. And I know that you guys probably have questions. So any questions?
Yep. Are the internships virtual or in person?
Oh, that's a great question. I probably should have spoke about that earlier. So we are hybrid right now at BKD. So we strongly encourage our interns to come into the office and our first year associates to come into the office at least 3 days a week if they can. We of course are under the vaccine mandate here in New York, so do with that information that you will. But if you're able to come in the office, then we really encourage you to come in at least 2 to 3 times a week, and you can work from home the other days. It's so important. We've really seen the difference between the individuals who have had fully remote experiences versus those who are able to come in the office. The ones who are able to come into the office are really honestly like light years ahead of the ones who are remote most of the time. So 2 to 3 days a week across the board at BKD, that's where we're at. So we are hybrid at the moment and we think that it works fantastically. As you can see, I'm home today, so.
Sean had a question. What do you recommend for someone graduating from accounting with 120 credits? Or just in general, because we have that, I suggest students to strongly, whether or not they're planning to pursue a CPA degree, CPA or not, I strongly suggest them to just be, go for the extra year if they can and be done with school, because you never know. I mean, things change later on in life.
Really?
You could start working at a firm, and then it gets busy. The audit has a busy season, taxes all a busy season, and then gets harder to go back to school. So once you complete your master's, that's my take on it. You'll be done. You don't have to ever worry about it. Whether or not you're planning to go for CPA, if you ever decide, for sure you can go. But the floor is yours, and Rosie, what's your take on it?
No, I am right there with you. I also really encourage you with that too. Keep on the train that if you are gonna want to take your CPA exam as well, get that out of the way as soon as you can too. Don't stop at the 120. If you know for a fact that you want a career in audit or tax, and you want to one day become a partner, a managing partner at a firm, your CPA is going to be needed. So while you're at it, go for that extra year, get an internship between that summer of your master's degree. After that internship, hopefully it goes well, you get a full-time role, you go for your master's, and then you're getting started with a full-time job right out of your master's program. There's no harm in that. I think it will only kind of put you ahead of the game. Like Eleanor said, going back to school is really difficult. For myself, I can't imagine going back to school right now. And then with the CPA exam as well, get that out of the way as early as possible. BKD does provide Becker study materials free of charge. They never expire either, to all of our individuals who accept full-time offers. So say you are starting in July, as soon as you accept an offer, you have Becker, get it out of the way. It will only help you in the long run. You also can't advance to being senior associate without having your CPA under your belt. So that is just a piece for you. And I just think, getting all of your academics out of the way, when you can, is going to only make your career easier to focus on after that. It's all about you at that point. It's not about the credits or the exam or anything like that.
Perfect. Thank you. Another question. If by chance we have other offers, how long of a time frame would we give if we were to receive a BKD offer?
Yeah, so typically we give about 2 weeks for an offer deadline, but I am very flexible, sometimes too flexible, on working with people so that they have ample amount of time. All I ask is that you let me know. If you need an extension of your deadline, please let me know why. I also can't make a decision unless I have all the information. So we usually give 2 weeks, that's standard. And then beyond that, you and I have a conversation if you need more time for other interviews or offers, what have you.
Okay. The next question, is there a chance for 2022 summer internships? And as I mentioned in the chat, directly to the students, firms usually hire 1 year in advance.
Correct.
For 2022, most likely, most firms have hired last year. We can talk about, I can email you guys about the accounting recruitment and how it works. If you missed it last semester or last year, we have it every fall semester in September, early to mid-September. That's what we have. A lot of companies come and recruit. That's across, so to say, United States, not only at Queens College, Baruch has the same thing, and other non-CUNY CUNY schools. So you have to be, get on my email list, so you'll be always on up to date of what's going on and who is hiring and what positions are available. And getting on my email list, your resume needs to be completely final, and then I'll add you to my email list, and you're good to go to apply to all the positions that I send out.
Couldn't have said it better, Eleanor.
Thank you. Does BKD pay for the CPA exam or give money towards it?
So we don't pay for the exam itself, but we do have bonuses, and we give additional days off to sit for your exam if you're taking it throughout when you're working. So our bonus structure is as follows. So if you pass the exam before your start date, then you get a $7,500 bonus. If you pass your exam within the first year of your employment at BKD, then you get a $5,000 bonus. And if you pass your exam within the first 2 years of your employment date, then you get a $1,500 bonus. The reason why the cutoff is that 2 years is because we really don't want our associates to be in the associate role for longer than 2 years. Things become stagnant, they become stale, you're not progressing, you're not learning more after 2 years of being an associate. Sometimes even associates get really itchy after 2 years. They're like, I learned all that I can. So we just try and incentivize getting the CPA exam done as early as you can. And then, like I said, if you're still taking the exam throughout work, we provide an additional up to 4 additional PTO days for you to take your exam so that you're not dipping into your own PTO time and missing out on vacations and, you know, your own personal time for the exam. The idea is that after covering all of your Becker study materials and the bonuses, you're paying, you know, as minimum as you have to for the exam. But we don't unfortunately just pay flat out for your exam fees. Those are having to pay for your own expenses.
Okay, and one of the questions that I probably can answer that I know. So do non-accounting roles in this firm require getting a CPA? I think you can take the CPA only if you an accounting or have taken 150 credits in accounting. So I don't think
150 credits. Exactly. 150 credits in accounting is what's going to get you eligible to take the CPA exam. But if you're interested in consulting any of those positions, you do not have to have a CPA license. You don't have to take the exam. Your requirements are totally different. It's a good question.
Okay. Any other questions? Because if not, I have few that I wanted to ask Rosie. Rosie, you're done with this? Is the presentation? We're done with the presentation, right? Okay. All right. So we just got one question. Would this bonus be applicable prior to having full-time position in BKD, say completion of CPA immediately after graduating?
Right. So it's only if you accept a full-time role. So if you're, say, an intern, you don't get the bonus. You also don't get the materials if you're an intern either. It's a full-time acceptance. But say that you accepted a full-time offer and you somehow already completed your exams, you get the bonus right away. As soon as you start, you get the bonus. It's just immediate, which is really nice.
Vanessa, I think you had your hand raised. Would you like to unmute yourself and ask the question?
Thank you, Eleanor. Yes. Actually, I have a question for you, Eleanor. So if we don't have our resume approved as yet by you, we cannot apply for this position?
You could. I think your resume is almost done, right? So it's you could send it since we reviewed it. It's just a little bit. There are some students who have never seen me and their resumes have never been looked over or by someone in our office. And I think a resume is so important, even though, yes, Rosie is very open and she would like to accept any resume. I think you should, not to Vanessa, to you directly, but I think any student should do their best in having a good resume. This is your first tool in your toolbox that you will be setting to an employer, any employer. And before they actually see you in person or before they invite you for an interview, they'll be seeing your resume. So you want to send the best one that you can. And and I'll suggest what to have and not to have on the resume and how to make your bullets more stronger. It's not listing your duties, it's listing your accomplishments. So we can talk about it. And I mentioned in the chat, if there's a new students that have never seen me in the office, every Monday, if you're available at 12 o'clock, I do the resume workshop. I'll provide you my email. You can directly email me and I'll add you to the workshop. Otherwise, you can schedule an appointment with me and navigate, and I'll send you, we'll meet and we'll go over your resume. But I did have questions. Are there any other questions for Rosie that I think everyone will benefit? So there was a question. What if you accept the offer for an internship, but decide later you don't want to do it?
That's $1 million question. I get a lot. My gut tells me, really don't try to do that. If you are unsure about accepting an offer, or if you think that you're going to need more time, or if you're still interviewing, have those conversations with the recruiter so that they know. You can never over communicate your situation. The same goes for a full-time role, and I would say full-time is even more of really try not to renegotiate. If it comes down to things like compensation or the timelines just don't work, that's a really great conversation to have. But if you're accepting an offer with a firm, I would really always encourage to do everything you can to, withhold that offer. But it happens. It's happened to me many times. And I'm sure that it will happen many times again. So just be honest, stay communicative, and, just try and get all of your information first before accepting an offer is what my biggest piece of advice would be.
Absolutely, and that's what I tell the students too. We do the workshops during the summer to prepare you guys for the recruitment. And one of the things that I mentioned, you need to stay professional. You think it's New York is a huge place, but it's a small world out there, guys. Believe me.
Yeah.
Somehow, somewhere, everybody knows everyone, and you want to stay professional as much as you can. You never know. So when we encounter recruitment, unfortunately, some students, never responding to recruiters. You don't want to do that. As Rosa said, that be communicative. Tell the person. It's better to tell them than just ghosting them. That doesn't look good on you.
I had
school.
Yeah, I've recently had a student who emailed me to withdraw her acceptance because she was going to be switching gears out of public accounting and into a different focus of consulting. She let me know that when I asked her. I said, yeah, I understand, but can I ask why you're renegotiating? She's actually going to be going for her master's program. And I said, thank you for telling me, because we actually have a service line directly for what you're going to be going for your master's for. So let's just switch gears. Maybe we can get you an internship instead. And now she's fully pursuing an internship rather than doing the full-time role. So there's so many opportunities at firms that you might not even know about. So really just like we said, stay communicative about it, do your research. The unfortunate thing is that there are so many firms, and all the firms are great options. Every firm has something for everybody. There are firms that are great for one person and not so great for the next. And you guys just have a lot of options. So don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to reach out to people on LinkedIn. I can't stress enough how excited I get when I have associates who work with us right now email me and say, hey, Rosie, I had so-and-so message me on LinkedIn. We had a conversation. He called me. To me, that is like, let's get him in for an interview automatically, or let's get her in for an interview automatically, because you've taken this step to go beyond a conversation with me, but you're going to go talk to somebody who was in your shoes, a couple months ago. So keep your networks open, make those connections. Don't be afraid to message partners. They love that. Partners at BKD always are looking to chat it up with students. So just don't be afraid to take that initiative and that step to get all the information that you can to make the best decision for yourself. I am an advocate for every candidate, and I never want you to accept an offer with us if you feel like you're better suited for another position, and vice versa. I'm never going to offer you a position if I think that you're better suited for another sort of position. So stay open, stay communicative, stay honest with yourself. Those are really the only things that you could do when it comes to job searching, really.
Totally. And do your part on your homework on researching the companies. They're all accounting firms, but look, I just found out that BKD specializes more in audit than tax. say that
Yep.
like all accounting firms, they all specialize in something. So that's why we say do your research. It's not like digging the numbers or anything, just the information you need to make up your mind whether or not
Right.
this is the company you would want to be with.
Yeah.
So one of the questions that I have a few questions, and if that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
What are the top 3 reasons students pick to work at your firm?
That's a great question. People is probably the number one, and our size, I would say. When you ask any BKDer what's the reason why you chose BKD, their answer is always the people, which is what you're going to hear at every firm, but I'm biased and I completely agree with them. At BKD, you're going to walk into the office no matter what location it is. If you're working in the Chicago office, if you're working in the New York office, you're going to walk in and everyone's going to know your name. You're not going to be a person who, unless you're walking in for the first time and you need to introduce yourself. But after that, you're not just really a number here. And I think that people really appreciate that. And I think that the people are really what kind of set us apart in that aspect. And I think also just the flexibility as well. Career mobility is big here. And we really kind of make sure that we provide all of the opportunities that we can to best suit our people. So I think those are probably the 2 biggest ones. And they're so big that I don't even think I need a third. So
Perfect. Since we will move on, since you mentioned remote work, what one piece of advice would you give to students about remote work?
Don't be afraid to ask questions through whatever means of communication you use, if that's Teams, if that's Skype, whatever it is, Zoom. Don't be afraid to utilize that communication method, and don't fall behind the scenes. That's the worst thing that you can do, is just like wait for people to come to you. It's unfortunately the opposite. When you're remote, you need to go out and seek help and reach out to people. You have to work double as hard to create communications. I got started at BKD in a fully remote environment. And as a recruiter, I needed to, know as many people as possible and learn as much as I could. So it's doubly as hard to formulate those relationships. So don't let your interpersonal relationships suffer. So remain communicative and don't be afraid to call people. That's another thing. A lot of people just kind of hide behind the wall of the instant messaging. Have video calls with people. 30-minute calls go such a long way, especially during a busy day. There's nothing like just kind of connecting with a coworker or your buddy or a friend. Don't be afraid to utilize those, because all that does is kind of just make your day a bit more enjoyable, and it allows you to still create those relationships. So don't just hide behind the screen is kind of my main piece of information.
Perfect. In regards to interviews, can you tell us briefly how the interview process looks like at your firm?
Yeah, so it's quick. This is a great place to start here. What's on the screen right now, I put up QR codes for the 3 main sign-up sheets that you would need. So that first QR code is for our internship and our associate positions. The second one is for our experience BKD, and then the third is for Explore BKD. So the sign-up pages are merely sign-ups, so they're not like applications. So basically you're just submitting your information, and then I reach out to you for a formal invitation to the program, and then you go that route. For the applications for internships and associates, usually it's good for Queens College students. Usually it's going to be a virtual interview. A video interview. So I'll send you a link to a quick video interview. It takes like 15 minutes. It's 5 questions. You answer them, you get reviewed. After that, usually within the week, I will reach out to you and say, hey, Andrew, I really loved your video interview. We would love to select you for an interview. I'll probably schedule you for a Zoom interview with a partner a week later. And then from there, you can get an offer. So usually the process takes, I would say, max 2 weeks, unless scheduling is an issue and we have to like push an interview out just for availability purposes. So that's the application process.
I had a question. Are the interviews, because you said there's a second interview, are they like a technical, are they behavioral questions, or like just asking questions about accounting and stuff?
Yeah. Good question. So it is basically behavioral. We're really just kind of getting to know you as a candidate, getting to know you as a person, your interests, if you'd be a good fit. We don't ask much technical questions unless you have background experience. Say you've had another internship at another firm, then maybe you'll speak to the experience that you've had there. Like Eleanor said, the accomplishments that you've had there, what you did there. But that's as far as it goes to. We're not testing you on software. We're not testing you on Excel. That is all just like secondary. We're really just getting to know you as a candidate. That's a great question.
And the last question that I would have for you is there a piece of advice you would suggest, you would give to current students? Is there anything?
Yeah, I think as you go through the interview process, don't be afraid to be like vulnerable. Don't be afraid to share your own experiences about why you like accounting, or how you got into accounting, or what you're looking for at a firm. Deciding those like non-negotiables for yourself before going into an interview. You're interviewing us just as much as we're interviewing you. And I'm sure that you've heard that before, but it really is so true. When I have a student who's clearly done their research, is asking me questions about, things outside of just the day-to-day work of BKD, I think that goes a long way. So my biggest piece of advice is don't be afraid to be vulnerable and make sure that you're identifying your own non-negotiables for a job, because that's going to make the decision a bit easier for you if you know that a firm meets those expectations for yourself. And don't be afraid to email your recruiter. That's another tip.
I think we're running out of time, but there's one last question that I would read. If you applied to an internship and got the offer and declined, would you still hire the person if they applied again in the same or different position later?
Yeah, so one no from BKD is not a no forever. So if you if you were declined the first time around and then we come back for recruitment the following semester, it really comes down to probably experience. So the most often I would say that like a student will apply to a full-time role and maybe they're just not eligible yet. And then they didn't apply to an internship for some reason. And then they come back and they apply again and they have more experience. That's an exact example of when I would reach out to you and follow up with you and say, hey, I saw that you applied again. Let's talk. But yeah, definitely short answer. Absolutely not. Definitely reapply if you're interested.
Okay. Last question, guys, because we are running out of time. I mean, we're way past 1:30. So Pablo raised the question, what's the distinguishable characteristics in an intern that will be highly praised?
Good question. I'm thinking about our interns right now. Somebody who seeks out feedback, even if you're being told that everything you're doing is right. So if you're getting a lot of praise already, no feedback, or I always say like not reaching out is not a good thing. You want to be following up with your in-charges and with your recruiter and with your teammates to make sure that I'm not getting anything right now, and I'm assuming that no news is good news. But don't fall into that habit, because somebody who follows up, I have an intern who checks in with me every single week on how he's doing and how his in-charges are feeling about him. And I think that's great. And I think that it's just taking the extra mile, and say yes to everything. Someone asks you to do something, you've never done it before, say yes. Don't pigeonhole yourself as an intern. Get as much experience as possible. I think that is probably what I look for the most in interns. And those are always the interns that we are like, this person's going to get an offer at the end of the day, for sure.
And probably
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone. If there are any questions, if not,
I put my email in the chat.
Yes,
I put my email in the chat. It's just my first initial on my last name, Prisco@bkd.com. I am not kidding when I say this is for you guys to use. I am at your exposure. I would love to have a conversation with you. These were amazing questions, and I'm really excited to see more applications come through. And if there's anything that I didn't answer, or you're going home tonight and you're thinking about it and you had something else, don't be afraid to reach out to me. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Happy to do that as well. And just, yeah, follow BKD too. There's a lot of fun stuff that happens at BKD that we post about. So, you know, excited to hopefully meet with some additional candidates, and yeah, have a great rest of your day.